What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Lockdown Universe, home of the bizarre, peculiar, and unheard of stories of UFO, legend, and paranormal lore. Welcome back, welcome back. Happy to be back. Hopefully, you guys are doing awesome and taking care of yourself. So, I am not going to waste your time today, guys. I am on a mission to give you important information about what's going on in the world, and not necessarily even our world, other worlds. Did you know that back in the 90s, the government, the US government, decided to go ahead and remote view a moon of Jupiter? That moon is called Europa. You may have heard of it. Did you know Europa had interest to the government at all? I did not. Well, you see, why would Europa be interesting to our government? I'll tell you why. This is why I only bring you important, interesting information because it's stuff that I'm learning and bringing to you. And it's new to me, and been doing research for forever. You guys have probably been doing research for forever, and I don't want to bring you old stuff. I want to bring you good stuff and new stuff. So in the '90s, funny I say new stuff and I say '90s right after it. In the '90s, we sent up Voyager spacecrafts, and Voyager 1 and 2 took pictures of Europa. They found that there was livable, habitable, biological creatures up there. Okay, a livable atmosphere with biological creatures. Well, so they decided, hey, let's do a remote viewing of Europa. So they brought in a retired military remote viewer, and they were determined to remote view the side that was facing Jupiter because apparently that'd be important. They wanted to do the side where there were geysers that were shooting out. Even in the 90s, there were consensus among astronomers that there were geysers shooting out of Europa, and there was an ocean underneath the surface, or in another active area. There were geysers going off and volcanic eruptions. And when you have volcanic eruptions, a lot of times there was a previous ocean or there's a current ocean. Well, Richard Doty had had an episode on Gaia, on cosmic disclosure, and the title is Remote Viewing Mars and Beyond. We're not talking about Mars, okay? We already talked about remote viewing Mars plenty. We're talking about remote viewing Europa, and there were octopuses on Europa, okay? So again, they wanted to remote view the side that was facing Jupiter, and it was for a specific reason because they wanted to be able to see what they could observe, and that side that's facing Jupiter had maybe more information from the Voyager spacecraft that we sent up, the Voyager probes. Maybe you guys haven't heard. Some of the younger folks might not have heard of this, but we sent up Voyager probes back, I don't know, '70s or something like that, and they just shot them out, and they went through our solar system, and they just went outside of our solar system. And while they went out, they kept beaming back radio signals so that we could gather information and video. So, what did they see when they remote viewed Europa? They saw an ocean, an underground ocean of Europa. They found what appeared to be octopus, numerous octopus, similar to the Earth octopus. They were same size as Earth, with appendages. They seemed to be highly intelligent. They had a huge head, large eyes, and they were swimming through this ocean underground. And there were two vents that the remote viewers were able to see that saw water or a spray being shot out of the ocean onto the surface. He tried to concentrate on how many other objects there were that he could remote view in the ocean. He saw many eels that were large as well. We know electric eels are in there some points, and he saw other entities as well. Now, this is the point in the remote viewing session where he became so involved that he became very emotional, and it actually upset him to the point where he was becoming psychologically unstable. They had to stop several times, and he didn't see any other creatures other than the few that he saw, the octopus and the eels. It amazed him that there was living life on a moon of Jupiter, not even Jupiter itself, but the moon. And what was troubling at the end of the session was the fact that there was a large, humongous spacecraft that was coming towards the moon of Europa that actually blocked off his capability to even remote view what was going on in Europa. He was trying to determine if he could get a look at this craft, but the closer and closer this craft got to the planet, he started to lose his remote viewing capability, and the session ended. So it's truly, truly remarkable and super interesting. Many people were very fascinated by this. Many people, even scientists here, have written and published columns and articles in scientific papers and journals stating that the octopus are from another planet. They've indicated that there's just no biological reason for them to exist here. That they theorize that they came in on some ice crystals or some comets from another planet that just exploded, and it came in and their biological DNA came down, fell into the ocean, and was able to regrow. So Emery Smith basically, agrees and thinks that that's his analysis has been the same. He also does remote viewing, even though he's a scientist. But the other interesting thing here is that they remote viewed a large aircraft, spacecraft, off the orbit of Neptune. So the Voyager sent back a lot of information about different space junk, space debris, space items that were coming towards Earth, right? Coming towards our area. We want to know if there's any threats. And there was a large craft that was being remote viewed that was from deep space. And they wanted to see if this was a comet or if this was a spacecraft or if this was something, we needed to know about. And they went ahead and tested this craft, and they found out from the first remote viewer that this thing was humongous, thousands of feet long, if not miles long. They said that there was more than 50 to 60 living entities on this craft. These living entities were able to be remote viewed by this remote viewer and able to be seen from the waist up. They had arms, they had a head, they were manipulating control panels and coming towards Earth. We don't know if they're coming to Earth, but coming towards Earth, right? So this craft could easily have more than 50 to 60 entities. That's all they could count. And what's really interesting is it's not just one type of entity. It was different types of entities. They had smaller entities manipulating the control panel in the front, and they had other entities controlling the ship from the back of the ship. This kind of makes me think about that show and movie Snowpiercer, where they have like the upper echelon elite people in the front of the train, and many train cars back. They have like the lower echelon people. I think that that's interesting. But let me pull up this. God, so many freaking things. Get out of here. I want to bring it. So he's talking about the numerous entities of the craft and the consoles within the craft. They also had like portholes that they could see outside of the craft with. The one thing that's weird is he talks about the fact that they couldn't see underneath, like their lower waist. He thought that there might be like their lower waist might be in a different container of sorts, which is really weird. I don't know if he means container underneath or a container in another room. I'm not sure. But they found that they were collecting some elements from different planets, that there were larger extraterrestrials at the other end of the craft, very, very tall, very, very large, long arms, and that maybe they were in control of the craft from the back, that there was something they needed to do. But these larger entities also had a console in the front of them, and they were manipulating controls on the console as well. The seats that the ETs were sitting in were solid seats, and these solid seats had some kind of structure or a bar, actually, that was going from the top of the seat all the way to the ceiling of the craft. So it almost like kind of keeping it in place. The entities that appeared They appeared to have helmets with bulbs on both sides, and I've heard of that before. They couldn't see the faces of these entities. There was something like a visor in front that they couldn't see the entity's face on. But they said what excited him, the remote viewer, was that the entities were doing something. They were manipulating a small console and manipulating and flying the craft, collecting the material, and going to these different planets and planetoids. And he witnessed the propulsion system. It was some kind of beam that was like kind of coming in towards the craft as well. And he said, well, maybe they were collecting like space dust, and that space dust was able to give them either samples or power. You know, because when you're remote viewing, there's some like ambiguous things that you kind of you interpret, and so the space dust could have been like you know, energy from the space, like space energy, you know, quantum energy that's just free flowing in space. It could just gather. So I just wanted to bring that up. I thought that was interesting. And he said he determined that it was moving, but it was not moving at a great speed, more like it was orbiting Neptune. He could see Neptune. The remote viewer could see Neptune. He distinctly remembers that he could easily see Neptune from where they were at. He said he could see it as a gas planet. Um, Hang on, I want to make sure that that's correct. He sees it as a gas planet. Yeah, as a gas giant gas planet. One of the things everybody asked him was there were there any other crafts out there? He didn't see anything other than this long, huge cigar-shaped mothership, and they went back. They went back multiple times to go like investigate this craft. And this thing's huge. I mean, this thing's like, you know, something out of Star Wars. You know, you can only imagine. Just imagine like a huge cigar that hasn't been clipped off at the end, just, you know, rounded at the end, and it's got portholes, and it's just humongous. And it's so interesting to me, you know, just the shapes of craft. You know, some of them are triangles. I think those are like ours that we've created, and there's these like cylinder craft, and it's so interesting because, you know, when you think about like a cylinder, it just makes sense. Either you make it a circle or you make it a cylinder. You know, why make something a triangle? It doesn't really make any sense. You know, it's not natural in nature. It doesn't, you know, if you have all these corners you always got to worry about all the time, that's a pain in the ass. It doesn't maximize the amount of space that you have. Even if you had like a rectangle, that would maximize more space than a triangle. The triangle really doesn't maximize a lot of space at all. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That's just my theory. Anyway, so yeah, NASA. There was a guy from NASA during this remote viewing that was there. Interestingly enough, they did this at an institute. He didn't give the name of the institute, but my guess would be, you know, it would be like Robert Monroe's. You know, it could have been Stanford Research Institute. Could have been Stanford. They did a lot there. It could have been Robert Monroe's, the Monroe Institute. You know, it could have been that one too. Though both of those were, you know, kind of military contracts. So this is super fascinating to me because number one, octopus, right? Octopus are out there and living on another planet. So that means they probably didn't come from Earth to go there. They probably came from somewhere else. Maybe that planet, Europa, or the moon Europa, came here by accident. Um, but the fact is that like, you know, octopus are so intelligent. They can get out of anything. Like you put them into a jar, they can unscrew the jar lid. You put them into like a cell, they can get out of a prison cell. Like they can figure it out. They have like no bones. They can squeeze in and out of like anything. They can camouflage themselves, you know. I mean, they can shoot ink out to block the vision of anything coming after them and then camouflage themselves as well. I mean, just the sheer amount of like weirdness biologically that's going on with them is like a science fiction movie. And I get it. Lots of entities underneath the ocean are basically a science fiction movie. But octopus, it just they're so intelligent and so evolved to be able to be able to camouflage, to be able to shoot that ink out, to be able to to change their cellular structure, or the liquid within their cells is how they camouflage. They can change the liquid within their cells to match anything from like I, I saw this one video where this octopus was being hunted down by this like flounder fish or some big fish, and it was bouncing from area to area, and like within 1 second. 1 second it would bounce to one area and camouflage blue and black. It would bounce to another section and shoot out ink and camouflage to like green, and then bounce to another area and camouflage into like gray, and then all of those had different textures to them, some soft, some smooth, some bumpy. I mean, it's just insane how fast it could do it. Insane. So, when we think it's impossible to have like a predator type species out there that could blend into the trees, or like in the movie that blended in, basically almost invisible or translucent. It's not impossible. These things can do these things. I mean, it's just amazing, just amazing. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys. I gotta bounce, but I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I will bring you another one, and we'll talk a little bit more about some octopus and octopi, and we'll see what new stuff there is. Actually, there's a really good podcast I'm going to talk about next time. We have a gentleman who was in the military that disappeared for half a decade after he's abducted by aliens and came back. We're going to talk about that and why the specific reason was he was abducted, and what did the aliens say to him. So tune into that one. I hope you guys are taking care of yourself spiritually, physically, emotionally, following through on your hobbies and your goals and your dreams, and as always, continue to question the universe. I'm going to start putting these on YouTube as well. It's just the monetization on Spotify is just not very good, and we need to try to earn a little bit extra cash here, because this economy is killing people. It's really tough out there. So thanks for listening. I'm gonna bring some more, and check it out on YouTube. I got some videos up there from a while back, but I'm gonna start posting more and start transferring these over there as well. All right, guys, take care of yourselves. Peace, love, light, and Lockdown Universe out. Peace.